And we'll be taking a look in this video at some of the options for ammo in a pistol. There's lots of different options out there. We kind of stretched a little bit on this one and brought in some ammo that would only be used on a couple of pistols, but since there's technically a pistol out there for it, we went ahead and included them. So we'll kind of zoom in here and we'll start out on the smaller side. And it's tough to put some of these in order because there's two different things we're looking at here. We're looking at diameters and then power, and sometimes that doesn't always relate. So this isn't the best way to sort them necessarily, but it's the way that we chose for this video. Taking a look here at the small side, we've got 22 short. Next to it is 22 long rifle. And we've got 17 Mach 2. Next to it is the 17, or excuse me, next to it is the 22 Magnum. Then we've got the 17 HMR. Next up is the 25 ACP, and then the 32 ACP. Next to that is the 380. Then we've got the 9mm Makarov and the 9mm Lugar. Next to that we have a 38 Super, and then the 9mm Largo. Then we've got the 7.62 by 25, and I just knocked over a 40 Smith & Wesson. Next to that we've got a 357 SIG, followed by the 45 G.A.P and the 45 ACP. We brought in the 44 Magnum, and then a 50 A&E. And this was a tough one to sort, so we put it over here, the 5.7 by 28. And then we've got a 223, and we've got a 7.62 by 39. Those are reaching. That's an AK pistol and an AR pistol, but they do exist, so we put them in the list here. And I'm not an expert on ammo, but I'm going to go ahead and act like it on this video. We're looking at the smallest ammo, and really there's not a lot of autos made for the 22 short, but it will work in some autos. Then we've got the 22 long rifle, of course, a very common round, lots of pistols made for that ammo. Then we've got the 17 Mach 2, which is basically a 22 long rifle. You can see that it's neck down to be a 17 caliber projectile on a 22 long rifle cartridge. And we've got the 22 Magnum and the 17 HMR, which again is a neck down 22 Magnum to be a 17 caliber round coming out of the 22 shot case. Next up we've got a 25 auto, which was popular, well, World War II era I suppose, not so popular anymore today, but lots of pistols out there still exist that use the 25. Next we've got this 32, again less popular today, but it is a fairly popular round for these small pistols because it allows the pistol to be very small. Next up we have the 380, which is definitely one of the most popular ones around these days for a pocket pistol. You can see that it's not that much smaller than the 9mm, but it allows the pistol to be quite a bit shorter. Then we've got the 9mm Makarov, which is often confused with the 9mm Lugar, or the 9mm, what in America we just call 9mm. The 9mm Makarov is for the Russian pistols, and it's the same exact size, it's just a bit smaller, a little bit shorter. Not something that you can swap back and forth though. Then we've got a 38 Super, which is typically a 1911 style pistol, but for certain countries they're not allowed to have the 45, or for people that are maybe target shooting and want the higher velocity, the 38 Super is an option. Next is the 9x23, which is the 9mm Largo. Honestly, I don't know what pistol shoots this, but it's a long 9mm. It's sort of the difference between a 10mm and a 40, between the 9mm Largo and the 9mm. Like I said, I'm not sure which actual pistol shoots that. I'm sure somebody can comment on that. Next we've got the 7.62 by 25, which is the Makarov ammo. So that's sort of a one-trick pony. That's for the Makarov pistol. Next up is the 40 Smith & Wesson, very popular ammo. In fact, we're probably going to do a whole video on just 40 caliber because there's so much stuff to talk about as far as that goes. Next up we've got the 357 SIG, which is a 40 caliber cartridge neck down to the 9mm round. So we've got the best of the 40 and the 9mm in the 357 SIG. Only real disadvantage with that 357 SIG is it's sometimes hard to find at the stores. I'm just setting everything back up here. So after the 357 SIG, we're looking at the 45 G.A.P, which is very similar to the 45 ACP, very common round, but Glock invented it to work in their smaller frames. They're regular size frames, and it allows someone to shoot the 45, but with a typical or the shorter size Glock frame. And 45 G.A.P stands for 45 Glock Auto Pistol. So it's really a Glock invented round. Next up is 45 A.C.P Auto Colt Pistol. Of course, the round from the 1911 style pistols, and basically the U.S. Army military service round, from the 1900s up to just recently, till about the 80s, pretty much everywhere. Then we've got 44 Special, or excuse me, 44 Magnum. There's not a lot of pistols that shoot 44 Magnum, but the Desert Eagle comes to mind, and so we brought that one out. Mostly because right next to it we have the 50 A&E, which is Magnum Research ammo, and again this is made for the Desert Eagle. And the 44 is a large round, of course, made for large revolvers, but look at that 50, it's even bigger. So pretty big round, made for the large Desert Eagle pistols. Next up we've got the 5.7 by 28, which is made for the FN 5.7 pistols. It's also for the PS90s and P90s. Then we've got the 223 or 5.56 by 45, and then the 7.62 by 39, which would be for the pistol versions of the AR and the AK-47. So the one round that we are missing here, we just didn't happen to have it available, was the 10mm, and that would fit in right behind the 40 probably in most people's opinion. And that's again the same way that this Largo was longer than the 9mm. The 10mm is just a longer 40. In fact, a 40 caliber is a short 10mm. Just we just didn't have a need for this video. So again, we're looking at an assortment of pistol caliber ammo. This is that same selection of ammo. I just collected it up from in front of the boxes and stuck it all together here so you can get an idea of diameters and lengths. So I've been told this camera's doing pretty good, so I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of pan across, and we'll see again different variety of diameters, and definitely different lengths and different shapes of the cartridges. So we'll start off again. We've got 22 short. I'll use something better to point than my finger there. We've got 22 short. We've got 22 long rifle. Next to it we've got 17 HMR, 17 Mach 2. Then we've got 22 Magnum, 17 HMR. We've got 25 auto, 32 auto, 380. Next we've got a 9mm Makarov, and plain 9mm. Next is the 38 Super, and then the 9x23 or the 9mm Largo. Then we've got the 7.62 by 25, the Makarov ammo. Next up we have the 40 caliber Smith & Wesson. Next we've got a 357 SIG. Next up we've got the 45 G.A.P. Then we've got the 45 A.C.P. Next we have the 44 Magnum. Then we've got the 50 A.E. And then we've got the 5.7 by 28, the 7.62 by 39 or 223, and last here the 7.62 by 39. And I just thought that'd be another interesting way to see them and put them in perspective and get an idea of which one might be more effective for personal defense, which one might be more effective for pocket carry, which one might be more effective for hunting, etc. And we are missing quite a few of the revolver calibers, of course.